what one man can do. That song was actually written for Buckminster Fuller on his 85th birthday by John Denver. Buckminster Fuller, often known as Bucky, was an American architect. He was a systems theorist. He was an author. He was a designer. He was an inventor. There are so many words to describe him. But I want to tell you something that a lot of people don't know about him. And that is in 1927, at the age of 32, Buckminster Fuller stood on the shores of Lake Michigan. He prepared to throw himself into those freezing waters. His first child had died. He was bankrupt, discredited, jobless, and he had a wife and newborn daughter. And he began to think that his life insurance policy was worth more than his life. And so, as he was on the verge of suicide, it suddenly struck him that his life belonged not to himself, but to the universe. And so he chose at that moment to embark on what he called an experiment to discover what a little penniless, unknown individual might be able to do effectively on behalf of all humanity. After all, he belonged to the universe. So over the next 54 years, he proved time and time again that his most controversial ideas were practical and workable. And during the course of this experiment, he was awarded 25 US patents, authored 28 books, received 47 honorary doctorates in the arts, science, engineering, humanities, received dozens of major architectural and design awards. And for us, perhaps he's best known for the promotion of the geodesic dome. And that was the lightest, strongest, most cost-effective structure ever devised. And he once said, "The mission of life is to align our heartbeat with the rhythm of the universe." And I, for one, am glad that he chose to discover what a little penniless, unknown individual might be able to do effectively on behalf of all humanity. That was his work. So our monthly theme for the month of September is living everyday wonder, work. And today our topic is living your dream. And our key words today are passion, purpose, persistence. So let's start with that. There's so many people in the workforce. They're on a quest for the dream job. And now a lot of people are quietly quitting or leaving their jobs, but you can't ever leave your work. When it comes to your work in the world, you might as well live it out, as Buckminster Fuller demonstrated for us. Carolyn Miss tells us this. She says, "Your divine potential speaks to you through your dreams. It is a desire to get more out of life, but not just accomplishments or material gain. Your divine potential is the fullest expression of your spirit. It is discovering the depths of your capacity to create and to express love, compassion, forgiveness, generosity, wisdom. Your divine potential becomes more audible as you release your need to know why things happen as they do." I think I'm guilty of that sometimes. "It becomes more perceptible as you decide to look beyond the physical plane of life." And isn't that what we're all about? Our affirmation today: the dream of God is awake and alive in me. Ah, what if the dream of God is awake and alive in me? How then shall I live? See, work is an extension of our passion for the world. So sometimes we talk about success, failure, productivity, improvement, competition, efficiency. And that's when we're looking in the container of an office, a company, a factory, or the boardroom. And these words are in the operational fabric of the workplace. But we are spiritual beings. So we're living out a spiritual experience in this world. all the time. And this means the work we do contains those spiritual elements of meaning and meaningfulness, good and goodness. It's about more than result or outcome. And so this month, as we look to everyday wonder in work, we embark on an adventure in spiritual practice. This is our spiritual practice this month, finding the good in the work that we do. And through the revelation of everyday wonder in work, everyday wonder within every task, every project, every widget, design, conversation, and product, uh, and by taking the opportunity to do all the good that we can do. I remember one time on a job, uh, well, there was a bit of conflict. Let's just say there was a bit of conflict. Not that I was part of it, but anyhow, there was a little conflict. There was one person in the office that kind of irritated some of the rest of us. So, um, in particular, she irritated this one person who worked with me. And so we were talking about it one day. And I said, in Tai Chi, I learned this idea of just moving past. Like when a force comes at you, you turn and let it go. Kind of like that kung fu TV show we used to watch. So when a force is moving forward toward you, you just move out of the way and let it pass. And it was a casual conversation, but several years later, he said, I always remembered that. So what I want you to know from that is that oftentimes we are doing the work we are doing and we don't even know it. And we don't know what we say or what we do is going to land with who and how. So how we understand our innate goodness shows up in how we work, and even more so in what we create or what we call into being. So the discovery of wonder of work is a spiritual practice. And that is where we live and move and have our being. So whatever your vocation, um, let us take the opportunity to discover and develop a passion for doing the work you find enjoyable and meaningful. See, the key sometimes is to get good at something that helps you help other people. And it's really easy to overlook the quiet significance. I'm really good about working in the background and organizing some things, and then just things happen. Um, and so that's one of my strengths. And what I know is that each of us has a strength. And so I invite you to make your sense of everyday wonder the lens through which you see your work in a greater focus. And maybe you don't know exactly what your work is, but I know that you really do know. Spirit knows what your work is, and that within you is communicating that through your dreams. And so the work this week is to do more than dream your dream. It's time to bring your dream to life within you and ultimately around you. Ernest Holmes tells us this. He says, "Wake up. Your word is all powerful. Your consciousness is one of omnipotence. Your thought is infinite. Your destiny is eternal, and your home is everlasting heaven." I want to share a quote now from Buckminster Fuller. This is what he said. He said, "The things to do are the things that need doing, that you see need to be done, and that no one else seems to see need to be done. And then you will conceive your own way of doing that which needs to be done, that no one else has told you to do or how to do it. And this will bring out the real you that often gets buried inside." So what are we to do? We are to do the things that need doing, that we see need to be done, and that no one else seems to see that needs to be done. Now, I know you've experienced this in your household, and doing these things is the work, and that brings out the real you. So we have a couple things that we can do about work. First, we can live our purpose. We can be a difference maker. And so that's an answer to the question, what do I do to make a difference? So there's lots of research from different approaches on discovering and acquiring the dream job. Yet the dream job belongs to the dreamer and is anchored in the sense of wonder. And so when we're ready to tap into the mystery and magic of wonder, we recognize that the journey extends beyond salary, beyond status, beyond significance. It is one of those things that we do day by day, hour by hour. This is our work. And one thing that we hear about is engagement. Work that is engaging is work that draws you in, holds your attention, tugs at your heartstrings, and gives you a sense of self worth. And so, this is a clear point of engagement is that level of meaningfulness found in what we're doing. How does that help other people? So maybe it's delivering meals on wheels. Maybe it's cooking the meal for a loved one. Maybe it's giving somebody a ride. Whatever our work in the world is, even listening. Oh my gosh, how we long to be listened to. And again, from Buckminster Fuller, he tells us this. He says, never forget that you are one of a kind. And never forget that if there weren't any need for you in all your uniqueness to be on this earth, you wouldn't be here in the first place. And never forget, no matter how overwhelming life's challenges and problems seem to be, that one person can make a difference in the world. In fact, it's always because of one person that all changes that matter in the world come about. So he tells us, be that one person, make a difference. I often, when I send a note to somebody, I might say, you make a difference, because it feels good to know that you make a difference in the world. So purpose. Passion is the second thing. Being good at your work, then you're a way maker. You create a sense of achievement, self-confidence when you're good at your work. Achievement has many facets, like, inspiring others, adding to the company or organization, adding to the beauty that people experience, the wisdom. And there's also an intrinsic value in volunteering, in doing good in the world. And so the thought of a dream job is less about the job, but more about what it adds to our life beyond the role of that job. Remember, Reverend Veronica pointed out last week, a person does not have to get all the ingredients of a fulfilling life from their 9 to 5 job. This is not what we're talking about. It's possible to find work that accomplishes the necessary things, like having a roof over your head, providing, for your loved ones, and also allowing the time for enjoyment and just building a great life along the way. So the key to living the dream is to make room for a great vocation that realizes your interests, passions without limiting opportunities. So if your work helps other people and you get better at it, the tasks are engaging and you can work with people that you like, oh, there's a chance you'll become passionate about it. Ernest Holmes tells us this. He says, we are chemists in the laboratory of the infinite. What shall we produce? We are chemists in the laboratory of the infinite. What shall we produce? So I want to give you a little example of what we can produce. I'm going to share my screen again and let you see what's happening here. So this is the beginning of a walk we took last Thursday evening. We want to see what one man's dream was. What can one man produce? So let me tell you a little bit about the art. So after completing a 1-year foundation course in art and design, Bruce Munro went for a degree in fine art. And then at the end of the year, he questioned his motivation. So he took a break. He broke off his studies for 14 months and worked as a junior chef. He worked at a Christmas shop at Harrods and an airline courier until he realized the practice of art genuinely fills his mind. And so rather than being in case of settling on art for a career because he's not well suited for other pursuits, he settled on a career in art. So let me show you what else he created. This is the beginning of this walk. So you can see lights are starting to come on. From the brochure, it says, illuminating 16 acres in the Arboretum at the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center is a stunning display of 28,000 stemmed spheres that are subtly lit by solar-powered fiber optics. As dusk came on, it started to glow. You could see the lights coming on one at a time, as they were ready to do. And as we continued, then you could see the lights and how they're connected here. You can see that the lights are connected. There is a network connecting 28,000 lights. This blew my mind. And the lights change colors as they go. So this is also from the brochure. The picture is what Rob took, but this is from the brochure. The installation unites with the outdoors, celebrating the natural topography of the landscape and creating an immersive and emotional experience for guests. Can you imagine being surrounded by light? This is a visual representation of the truth that is always within us. We are surrounded, we are in the midst of all these lights of different colors changing. And it is a magnificent experience. And this because Bruce Munro decided to do something like this. This was his dream. He didn't jump into it right away. At first, he got a job. Well, he was actually in London, and his job was working in a gallery. But he loved it because it allowed him to look at pictures all day. So there's your passion coming out. And then in 1984, he traveled to Sydney, Australia. Now, I want you to mention 1984, he traveled to Sydney, Australia. This is 2022, and we're seeing the results here. That wasn't an overday thing. He went to Australia. He thought it was going to be a 6-month holiday. And then, he got a variety of work, a cook, a bricklayer, aerobics instructor, and finally an illustrator. And when he got the job as an illustrator, he realized he could make money from his imagination after years of being a daydreamer. And then the next year, he took an evening course and he found this ultraviolet plastic product whose properties intrigue him, and his course tutor wrote a brochure for him that helped him start an illuminated display business for retailers and exhibitions. And so think about this. He was starting to learn about the pieces that would have to go into this. He didn't know he was headed here, but this is what he was doing. And he purposely at this point left his fine art ambitions out of the equation because he needed career experience. And so in 1991, he is still making notes in his notebooks about moments of condensed connectedness with nature. And he felt that these moments of clarity are worthy to recreate. And so in 1992, he conceives of an artwork while camping at Uluru that would bloom like the night in that dormant desert, like seeds responding to the rain. And so here's 10 years later. He's referencing his past sketchbooks and early ideas, and he starts to freely dream about making big pieces, and especially that was inspired by his visit in Uluru. And so what he does then, he begins to act on his desires to create large outdoor installations in the fields behind his house. Well, um, this took uh, a lot of hours and a lot of time, and he started looking for low cost components. And he used what he learned in his business, his lighting design business, to make samples around the country and around the world. There was even one early on in Houston. But then in 2016, now how 20, what was this? 1984, 2016, he opens the Field of Light in Uluru. And this is after 24 years of having that first camping experience, thinking, oh, wouldn't it be great to have the desert come alive? And there were 50,000 stems, 50,000 of these. This is 28,000, 50,000. And that was the culmination of a long held dream. Now, fortunately for us, Rob and I were able to go to this field of light in Uluru. That was truly amazing. It was a little different from the one here. They are all different because they blend in with the landscape, and there were very few trees and 50,000 lights in the desert. Here, we're in an arboretum. There are trees around. There are picnic tables. You can sit and enjoy it. But also, what's significant to me is the fact that there are so many places and so many times, and there are all these individual lights that make this up. So you can see a network here. Doesn't it look like something you would see as you look at the galaxy? So you see a network here. You see way off into the distance all of the lights. There's kind of a river going through it. That's the path. There's another network we see. What a conception. Isn't that amazing? One man had this idea. Now, he did not, by the way, do it by himself. It took a lot of people to look at this, to put it together. You can imagine putting in 28,000 light stems like this. 28,000. That is a bunch. Okay, let me see if I can start this one. Yes. So there's one single light. You can see it changing. So each of us is that single light, changing our color, each light connected with all the other lights. I think for myself, I think that is truly amazing. Let's look at it one more time. See how it's starting out blue, goes a little brighter, and it ends up pink. How does that reflect our lives? What we started out at, what we become, how we're connected with other people. So this one man that had the concept for this art, how has he affected our life? And what is it that we're doing? These are the questions I ask myself. How is it that one person can make this difference in the world? And how is that difference that I am making? So again, you can see kind of the whole field of light. Bruce Munro, inspired largely by his interest in shared human experience. That's what one man can do. That's what he's done for us. So purpose, passion, and now we come to persistence. Because although you may not be at your dream job, it's possible to become passionate about new areas through spiritual practice of everyday wonder, through wondering. See, he was a risk taker, but he didn't do it overnight, and he didn't do it by himself. So it's from the starting place, wherever we are. In his case, he had a dream, he had a business, he had some background, and I look at the things in my life that have made a difference. I looked at my background, what I've enjoyed doing over the years, and how I came to this, what I'm doing now. It's like, wow, who knew that that was all in alignment? Well, somebody someplace knew that. So it's from our starting place, whether it's the desk or the parking lot, that we bear witness to the transcendence, to the changing of the light. So from the same old thing that we've always done to something new. And how we get there is wondering. It's just wondering. So through living an examined life, through questioning, reflecting, wondering, we expand our life. And we can choose to become good at something that helps others and contributes to greater outcomes. And so I consider this. What if the way to achieve the elusive is to begin in a state of wonder about everything? What if, instead of knowing all the answers, which I really prefer, trust me, what if we lean into asking more questions? So I'm going to invite us to practice this just for a moment. And I'm borrowing today from our friend in San Antonio, Rudy Harst, who has spoken for this congregation before. And he has this beautiful meditation about fanning the flame. So I'm going to invite you just to join me in this meditation for just a moment as we just sit alone, together, alone, together for a few minutes, each in our own way. And with eyes open or with eyes closed, just let us breathe into this moment. And let us take our time. No rush, no right way, no wrong way. Simply breathe into the moment and become present to this body, mind, and spirit. And just allow yourself to rest, knowing that for the next few minutes, there's nothing you need to do, nothing you need to make happen. Just inhabit that space of willingness. Willingness to be shown. Willingness to perhaps take some small action. Willingness to fan the spark of desire within you, however large or small that might be. And so here's the question. Ask yourself, what is my sole purpose? What is my soul's deepest desire? And perhaps your desire is to sing your song, to dance your dance, to write your book. Or perhaps your desire is to simply be of service, to love and be loved. Perhaps your desire is to help bring about world peace. Know that whatever your soul desire is, it is bigger than you. But in this moment, you don't need to see the bigness or the totality of it. Simply see, feel, taste your willingness to be led by your soul's desire. And so this is where we fan the spark. What would happen if you fan that spark? Watching it become a small flame, a larger flame, its own time, its own way. And know that the universe and all of life is conspiring to support you at every turn with guides, teachers, helpers, yes, and even challengers. each being brought to you in turn to help you learn, to help you grow into this fullness of who you are and who you are becoming. And note too that this is not just for you, not for just your own personal benefit, but for the highest good of all. And this highest good is being served through your willingness to experience, to expand, and to express your soul desire now and now and now and now. And may we, may you, may all beings be blessed by your willingness to do this. And so, giving thanks that this is so, I relax, I release, I let it be. And I invite you to join me as together we say, and so it is.